What's up, everybody? Welcome to Call to the Bullpen. I'm David Payne with Brad Zampar and Jimmy Miller. Let's play ball. Quick turnaround from our last episode, but it is the end of the season, so we are doing some exciting things. Today, we've got the All-MLB team and our 2022 awards winners. We're going to kick this off with the All-MLB team. We did a mid-season team, and we're going to see a lot of players carry over to this one from that one. A lot of players stayed hot. And we're going to kick it off in the infield. Jimmy, why don't you give us our 4 infielders for the All-MLB team?
So at first base, we went with Goldie. Pretty easy decision. Paul Goldschmidt had a phenomenal year. Second base, Jose Altuve. Kind of choked in the playoffs, but still was terrific during the regular season. Third base, Manny Machado. Pretty easy decision. He kind of had a great stretch run at the end of the year to really take that unanimous decision. And at shortstop, probably our toughest decision of them all was Xander Bogaerts. We went Xander Bogaerts over Lindor and Trey Turner. Bogaerts just had the slash line. The power might not have been there, but at the end of the day, the slash line was very good.
And I know it hurt you to announce Manny Machado as the All-MLB third baseman, and that's why I gave you infield to announce. But equally painful, I'm sure one of these will be for Brad. Go ahead with our All-MLB outfield.
Yeah, it's a little difficult to say, but, you can't really say he didn't deserve it. It's not going to deserve the inevitable MVP he's going to win. It's Aaron Judge. He lands the first spot in the outfield for the All-MLB team. The second guy was Mike Trout. He was really surreal when he played. He was I think he was the 5th player in Major League history to hit 40 home runs and play less than 140 games. So it's pretty crazy stuff. And then our last one was Yordan Alvarez, who has he'll be chasing Judge and MVPs in future years.
Yeah, and it was a bit of a tough decision there to keep Yordan in the outfield, but he was an outfielder for the midseason one, so we kept him there. At the time of the midseason one, he had actually played more games in the outfield than he had at DH. At the end of the season, that flip-flopped. But considering that he was on the outfield, it didn't feel right to move him off the outfield for the end of the season one. Now, at DH, having Yordan in the outfield opened up the door for Shohei Ohtani to be the DH. It would have felt wrong to not have Shohei Ohtani included on this team. So he's our DH. Behind the dish, we've got JT Realmuto. He's the premier backstop in the game, and especially considering what he meant to this Phillies team down the stretch. On the hill, we've got Sandy Alcantara. The guy was a classic ace. He was a workhorse, throwing up 8 innings a game. 6 complete games is unheard of these days. So that the longevity and what he did this season gives him the edge over Verlander. And then the closer, without a doubt, Mr. Trumpets, Edwin Diaz, is our relief pitcher. So that rounds out the 2022 Call to the Bullpen All-MLB team. Now the one we've all been waiting for. This is throughout the season we did power rankings for awards. So we'd have 1 through 5 ranked, and this is the culmination of that, which is the end of the year final awards. We have MVP, Cy Young, Rookie of the Year, Manager of the Year, Comeback Player of the Year. And I'm going to kick it off now with our AL MVP by a unanimous margin. Aaron Judge. There was a lot of discussion about who was going to take it home between him and Ohtani. Ben Verlander gave it to Ohtani, but we gave it to Aaron Judge. We made the right choice no matter what teams we like. There's no denying that Aaron Judge was the MVP this year. And like I said, it was unanimous, so we know that the 3 of us all voted for him. Going down the list, 2 through 5, we have Ohtani, Yordan Alvarez, Jose Ramirez, and Vlad Guerrero Jr. Behind Judge there. We're going to go to Jimmy for the AL Cy Young winner.
So another unanimous decision here. We have Justin Verlander. He had a terrific season coming back from injury. So followed with him, you got Dylan Cease, who last year I said he would win a Cy Young. People thought it was crazy. We voted him second. So after that, you have Shane McClanahan, who might have been the favorite, but he kind of got hurt down the stretch, so he fell to 3. And then you have Alek Manoah and Ohtani to round out 4-5. Both had terrific seasons. So yeah, that gives you your AL Cy Young. 1 through 5.
Now, to a really, the voting record won't reflect it, but a much tighter race here. Brad, you want to give us our AL Rookie of the Year?
Yeah, by a unanimous decision, it was Julio Rodriguez. All I have to say on that is if Adley doesn't hurt his tricep in spring training, this probably is a lot closer. It probably already is going to be one of the closest awards outside of probably the managers because nobody really knows what's going to happen there. But between J-Rod and Adley, it's just been really close all year. But J-Rod takes it unanimously. Adley was second. Jeremy Pena was third. Stephen Kwan was fourth, and George Kirby was the fifth option.
Yeah, and just to see Adley up at 2 for us as Orioles fans is a win, considering he came up, later in the season in May there, whereas Pena, Kwan, these guys were up all year. So just to see him make his way up there tells you how good he really is, regardless of if he takes the award home or not. I will do the AL Manager of the Year here. And this was by far the closest race that we had. We had 4 people get first place votes in this one. So it's our first non-unanimous one. And our winner is Scott Servais from the Seattle Mariners. So he had 3 first place votes. Coming in behind him at second was Terry Francona with 2 first place votes. Brandon Hyde from the Orioles was third with 1 first place vote. Dusty Baker got a first place vote in 4th place. And Aaron Boone brings it up in 5th place. Servais ended a 21-year playoff drought. You could make an argument, and 2 people did, that Francona with the young team and the Guardians having the most rookie debuts ever and then going on to win the Central. That was my vote personally. But Servais, there's no denying that this Mariners team hadn't been where they made it to in 21 years, and that's definitely worth something. But since this was a split vote, who did you guys vote for?
For this, I went Dusty Baker. I think that at the end of the day, I know he's won this award a few times, but he's just a big culture guy for that team, for that young Astros team. So to me, I gave him the first place nod.
I went with Francona too. I just felt like what he did in that Central. You could say that the Twins and the White Sox, they kind of choked away the division as it is. But for what they did, what the Guardians did, especially with a new team, essentially a new team name, trading Lindor the season before, this team really wasn't supposed to be anywhere near division winning, and they just improved and got the job done at the end of the year, and felt like Terry deserved it.
Yeah. So now, we see none of the 3 of us voted for the first place winner. But we had the full team voted on these. We had 8 people that submitted votes for this. And Servais ended up winning it, and that's what it is. We're gonna go to Jimmy. Jimmy, round us out with the comeback player of the year.
So AL comeback player of the year, same as our Cy Young, Justin Verlander. He had 5 first place votes. So there were 3 other guys to get 1 vote each. Trout came in second. He had a first place vote. Then you had Sal Perez in there at the 3rd place. Alec Bregman. Oh, Martin Perez. I don't know if it's Sal Perez. Martin Perez, the lefty of the Rangers. He's been pretty bad his whole career, but he had a great year this year. Alex Bregman had a first place vote. Obviously a big comeback year for him. Michael Wacha, he was an all-star, I think, like 4 or 5 years ago. Kind of been beleaguered by injuries, but he had a good year for the Red Sox, good staple in that rotation.
And this one's an interesting scenario too, where you have Martin Perez, who received 0 first place votes, come in above Bregman and Wacha, who each had received a first place vote. We had ranked choice voting for these, and his 3rd place votes cemented him into that spot. Whereas the others had first, and then a couple fifths in there that brought them down to 4th and 5th. So, interesting vote total there. I went Verlander. It was a split vote. I went Verlander. You 2 also went Verlander?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so we got our guy on that one. Now we're going to jump to the National League. Going with the MVP. This was a split one. So coming in and winning the NL MVP award is Paul Goldschmidt. Goldie was in a Triple Crown race at one point. He was dominant with the bat, and kind of what you think Paul Goldschmidt should be, but better even. Like, he's one of the premier first basemen and played even better. So he got my vote and he wins the award. Coming in at second was Manny Machado with 2 first place votes. So Manny got 2 first place votes. Then Arenado, Betts, and Freeman rounded out. So contested vote here. I went Goldie. Jim, you went Goldie?
Yeah.
And then Brad, you had
Yeah.
a differing vote, I believe.
Yeah, I went Machado. I felt like what Machado did in San Diego, really without Tatis, really without another impact bat out there, he kind of carried them afloat the whole time because they got Soto at the deadline, but even then Soto wasn't really that amazing. And then Goldschmidt really struggled in September. In September, from September 1st to the end of the year, he had an OPS of like 540, which is just not good. But when you have another top 3 MVP finalist behind him and right behind him protecting him and Nolan Arenado, it's tougher. It would be tougher to not ignore him. So you're still protected by him essentially. But I went with Machado here.
Yeah, and if you're making the real most valuable player argument, then Machado meant more to his team, probably than Goldschmidt did. But this is unfortunately not true to its name. It's the best player award, not the most valuable player award. Otherwise, Zach Britton would have taken home MVP award in 2016. We're going to go to the NL Cy Young now with Jimmy.
NL Cy Young, unanimous, pretty easy decision. Sandy Alcantara. I mean, he's a workhorse this year, as you said, 6 complete games. Coming in second, Julio Urias. We're talking about a guy that could be the next best young lefty pitcher. It feels like he's been around forever, but he's like 27. Zach Gallen came in third. Let's see if he gets moved this offseason. Max Fried came in after him, and Corbin Burns came in 5th place. So we're talking about a pretty good 1 through 5 there.
Yeah, and Burns another guy to look out for potentially moving this offseason too. Now, a bit of a contested one, Brad, with the NL Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, so it was 6-2 on the first place votes between the Atlanta Braves teammates. Michael Harris took it home with 6, and Spencer Strider took the other 2 first place votes. Brendan Donovan finished 3rd. Edward Cabrera was 4th, and Christopher Morel was 5th. I personally went with Michael Harris. When I put him on the original ballot back in like June, I voted for him first through every single month. From the second he was called up, I felt like he had the most impact on his team. I think it would have been closer if Strider didn't get hurt, where he missed like that 3-4 weeks time frame. But overall, I thought Harris deserved it.
Yeah, I went Strider on this one. I was one of his 2 first place votes. The numbers are so impressive. The numbers are Cy Young numbers. Really, he could have been right in that conversation with the Cy Young guys with those numbers as a rookie. And I think that he'll be in that conversation sometime in the future. But Harris was my 2nd place vote, and I don't love that he won, but I'm not against it either. I don't necessarily hate that he's the winner. I think that it was a clear gap after those 2 guys too. It was a pretty clear fall off. But Jim, who did you go with?
I went with Harris as well. I think, like Brad was saying, you look at the impact Harris had. The minute he was called up, they were like a sub 500 team, and you got like the outfield, right? That outfield kind of carried them to that World Series victory. just a year ago, they were so strong in the outfield. And then they pretty much this whole year, except for Harris, it was kind of a, outfield was moving in and out for them. They didn't have a consistent outfielder in the corners, and Harris kind of locked down that outfield for them. Great defender, had a great OPS this year, and he's all you can really ask for in a player. He's a true 5-tool player.
I think something that stands out with Harris too is that he swiped 20 bags, which is pretty impressive in itself. He was 1 homer away from going 20-20 this year. Which would have been even more impressive. So on top of what he was able to offer defensively and at the plate, he offered quite a bit on the base paths as well. Now, I'll take the manager of the year. We have our winner from the New York Mets, former Baltimore Oriole, Buck Showalter. The Mets won their first 100-game season since 34 years. It's been since they won 100 games. So that in itself, the fact that, the Mets didn't LOL Mets, I mean, they didn't end up winning the division, but you can make an argument that the Braves just straight up outplayed them. You win 101 games, and it's hard for me to say that you choked anything. And you can say that there's a series here that they could have won and they should have won this one, but that's how baseball works. And every team has those. And at the end of the day, bringing a 100-win team back to Queens is quite the accomplishment. He had 6 first-place votes, and then Rob Thompson had 2 first-place votes. It's, again, a guy who came on and really lifted his team, very similar to the role that Michael Harris kind of played there that we were just talking about, where Thompson comes in for Girardi, and then this team ends up in the World Series. But I think if he had a full season there, then maybe he could win the award. But I went Showalter with my vote. Did you guys both go Showalter?
Yes.
Yeah, it's tough to go in your first year as a manager and win 100 games. So it's kind of why I gave it to him in the end.
Yeah, especially after being out of the game for a while, too. He spent a few years not managing since Brandon Hyde came on for the O's. Thompson's been around that Phillies team for a while. He was already on the coaching staff. And then rounding out the managers of the year, we have Brian Snitker, Ollie Marmol from the Cardinals, and then Dave Roberts in 5th there. And then, Jimmy, you got to do the AL Comeback Player of the Year, so I'll throw this NL one to Brad.
Yeah, the NL Comeback Player of the Year was really interesting. We had Jeff McNeil ended up winning with 3 first-place votes. Albert Pujols, who also had 3 first-place votes, he was in 2nd. Daniel Bard, he picked up a first-place vote as well. He was 3rd. Brandon Drury also picked up a first-place vote, was 4th. And then David Robertson rounded it out. I personally went Pujols because he was abysmal. Beginning of the last 3-4 years of his career have just been awful. And then even in the first half this year, before the All-Star game, he was pretty bad. Like, he wasn't even close to anywhere near this ballot. There were talks of him retiring at the All-Star game. He just went on a complete tear, earned his way back in here, and I feel like it would be a nice fitting way for him to go out of this game as he ends with a Comeback Player of the Year.
Yeah, I definitely see the argument for Pujols there, and this is why we do ranked choice voting too, because otherwise we would have had a tie there. So McNeil ended up just having more second place votes. His score ended up being lower. And for me, it was McNeil. I went with McNeil. He improved his batting average 75 points from last year, and ended up leading the National League in batting average. It was a real comeback thing for me. Because the year before, not last year, but the year before that, it was good. Last year, not great. And then also some turmoil there in the clubhouse as well. We had an incident with the raccoon. You had some issues with, is McNeil a fit for this team, was a question coming in. Should McNeil be someone that's moved? Does he fit the chemistry? And then for him to come out, get that batting average right back to where it was, and then lead the NL was impressive for me, so I went McNeil.
Yeah, I went Jeff as well. I think it comes down to me is that Pujols is kind of I don't want to say a part-time player, but Jeff is a full-time out there every day. He could give you multiple positions. Pujols was kind of in there, kind of with his favorable matchups. He was in the lineup, pretty much against lefties, right? Like he had the favorable matchups. Jeff had to face lefties as a lefty hitter. He had to play multiple positions. So I went Jeff.
Yeah, so just to recap all this, your MVPs are Aaron Judge and Paul Goldschmidt. Your Cy Young winners are Sandy Alcantara and Justin Verlander. Your rookies of the year are Michael Harris and Julio Rodriguez. Manager of the year, Scott Servais and Buck Showalter. And comeback players of the year, Justin Verlander and Jeff McNeil. Congratulations to all of our award winners, as well as our anyone who finished top 5 in MVP. That's a hell of a season. So a big shout out to all those guys. These are going to be posted the same day as this episode. So check out the graphics on social media. And off season now, we're going to be coming every so often with free agency updates. we're going to be talking to some players. That's what we're really looking most forward to this offseason is connecting with a lot of the guys that we connected with this season, to reconnect with them, as well as some other guys that we've talked to who the schedules just didn't fit during the season. So we're excited to get, some time to talk to some players now, and give you guys a little look into what their lives are like. This has been a fun season. Season 2 of Call to the Bullpen. Jimmy, it was your first season with us as a full-time host. We've seen you on as a guest a few times, so thank you for joining us for season 2. Bradley.
Yeah, of course.
Full season, Bradley. Last year joined in July, first full season with the Bullpen. I think that we had a really fun time this season. I don't know if you guys have anything you want to say before we officially wrap season 2. But
it was. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. But yeah, it was a great time. I had a lot of fun talking baseball. It's a long road to the end of the season, but this is kind of the time of the year I look most forward to with all the free agent buzz. See where guys go, especially as a Mets fan. I used to dread this years ago with the Wilpons, but now it's so exciting with the Cohen era. So, this is what I look forward to, the hot stove free agent stuff. So I can't wait to put out more content.
Yeah, it was a really good year. We haven't really talked about this at all. It kind of just popped into my head right now, but I'm sure in the plethora of episodes that we put out, there are some disgustingly horrible takes that ended not well. So I feel like we should put together a compilation of takes that just went completely haywire.
Yes, absolutely. That definitely keep an eye out for that on TikTok and Reels, because there's definitely some crazy takes that were made, and there's definitely also some pretty incredible ones that ended up being spot on, like Bradley getting the correct date of Pujols 700. A couple, we'll definitely do like a best of and worst of season 2. And Brad, what a way to end it. Brad freezing. What a perfect.
I'm still here. I still see myself moving.
Oh, you were frozen for me. You're moving now. Yeah, no, we'll do a best of and worst of for sure. But for the time being, that wraps season 2 of Call to the Bullpen. But we're not going anywhere. We'll be back with off-season content. Follow us on social media at CTBP Pod.
Play ball.